So in 1974, in Tokyo, Japan, there was a 6-year-old, half Vietnamese Eurasian who went to leave the country and found that he couldn't because he had no entrance visa. See, in Japan at that time, a US document showing that you were born in the country was not valid. And in order to exit Japan, you had to have an entrance visa to get your exit visa. And so this boy was rocking the boat from an early age and didn't really get any less interesting from there. So, not surprisingly, that little boy was me, and this is me now. So, with an incredible group of artists and technicians, I founded a company called SkyFire Arts. We are a performing arts company in which we wear high voltage protective suits. We become electrified by giant devices known as Teslacoils. I'm sure some of you are familiar with those. And we throw 10-foot bolts of lightning as part of our show, literally. So the question that I get most often when I tell people that is, how did that even happen? How does somebody get into throwing lightning bolts for a living? And fortunately, I have a very good story behind it. It's a synchronicity out of my life, or for those who are not familiar or really like that term much, it's a coincidence. So I was a fire dancer for maybe a couple of years at this point, and I was thinking to myself one day, God, how I love to spin fire. The roar, the flame, the light and the shadow. What would it be like, I thought, to dance with electricity? It's another primal energy, thrilling, a little bit dangerous. What would that be like, I thought? Now, my great idea at the time was to strap a couple of stun guns to the end of a stick and tape their buttons down and get a pair of goggles and a groin cup and kind of probably do something really dumb. But before I could do anything like that, 2 weeks later, I'm standing in line, and the guy standing next to me starts talking to the woman over the counter about his lightning project in a Starbucks in Torrance, of all places. And so I listen, and I listen. And eventually I couldn't help myself. I turned to him like, I don't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation, but I really can't help myself. I'm a fire dancer. I was just thinking about dancing with light. I tell my story. And he looks at me and he goes, that is really weird that you would think those thoughts and run into me, because I build some of the largest Teslacoils in the world. As a matter of fact, I am Teslacoil.com. And I build machines that throw, 18, 20-foot long arcs of electricity. And so, in addition to this, I've designed a high voltage protective suit in which you can effectively dance with lightning. Now, my original idea was about, 2, maybe 4 inches of lightning worth. And this is like 15, 20-foot long arcs of electricity. So I said to him, can I get your number? So essentially, that was Jeff Parisi. I want to mention the names of a lot of the other amazing people that were part of the development of this project, because frankly, I want to really emphasize I couldn't have done this alone. And as you'll see later in the presentation, I really feel that we did it in a way. So in essence, let's see what it looks like now. So that last shot was the Olympic Stadium in Korea. I'll get more on that story later. But so as you might imagine, That didn't happen overnight, though. And actually, another remarkable synchronicity went into like how it all came to happen. I was at a festival called Lightning in a Bottle one year, and I was, somebody's been there. Yeah, amazing, right? So I was there, I was talking to my friend Bradley, and I was saying to him, hey, this is lightning in a bottle. Where's the lightning? I had an idea one time I would dance with lightning. Maybe you can put me in a big glass jar. I'll be your lightning in a bottle. He laughs and he goes, oh, yeah, well, you ought to talk to Brent Haining. He did all the power for this festival. I said, Brent Haining? I just met him a few weeks ago doing the Lantern Festival. I helped him hang lights. I have his number. I'll give him a call. So I did. I called him up, and he said, yeah, you're not the only person to ask where the lightning is. We're going to do a project. You should be involved. So at this time, I was way behind everybody else in the tech world, and I was just getting to use texts, And one of the first texts, certainly the first text I remember getting, is him texting me one day, hey, we're having a meeting tonight. You ought to come. And I just remember looking at that and having such a strong feeling like, I think I really ought to listen to this text. This technology thing might be, something I should pay attention to. So I ended up going to the meeting. There's already 15 people there. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of energy behind this Brent guy, So everybody's talking, and I join the meeting, and at a certain point, I feel like it becomes relevant for me to share, who it is, how I got there. I'm like, oh, I'm Michael, fire dancer, thought I would dance with lightning. I met this guy in line. And this guy sitting at the table leans forward, and he says, you're telling the story of how we met. I'm that guy that you met at Starbucks. And I'm like, oh my God, it is you. Because in the interim, I hadn't seen him. It had been a number of years. I had just called him up occasionally. See, he was already putting Teslacoils into the Swiss Science Museum. He already kind of had his old team of people that were working in his chainmail suits. So I didn't feel confident enough to just barge into his life and be like, I should be your new lightning guy just because I thought of it or whatever. So, I just kept in touch with him, but I hadn't seen him. So I didn't recognize him at the table until I started telling the story. And he was like, oh man, I knew you looked familiar. I'm that guy. So we both decided at that moment, obviously it's meant to be. We're going to do this project. And so at the first meeting, I shared ideas about a, vaunted 360-degree performance stage. And dancing with lightning obviously was the thing that I wanted to help do with the project. I also, just kind of shared generally, what it was that I thought we should be doing. And one thing in particular was such a strong feeling for me that I had to kind of stop the meeting at a certain point. I'm like, hey, I really want to share that if we do this, or when we do this, we're going to be attracting a lot of attention. I don't know anybody else who's doing this. So we got to remember to attract attention to something meaningful, to something profound and good. Not only because, there's going to be another flashy show and another flashy show every year. There's something new is going to come out. And what people really remember is when you touch their hearts. But really, it's also just because that's what I wanted to do, and I have deep motivation for that. And so I think in order to really understand the perseverance and the will it took to go through the dark times of creating this company, I think it's important for me to share with you essentially the moment that defined my life. So I was on a bus riding into school one day. It's early in the morning. So I was rubbing my face, kind of trying to wake myself up. And something reminded me that I had made love that morning. And I got a warm, comforted feeling, just remembering how beautiful that was. And looked out the window, and something about the rocking of the bus and the swaying of the giant redwood trees that I was looking at up behind the school that I was pulling into. And all of a sudden, I was the bus and the people on the bus. I was the road. I was the earth. I was the trees and the earth and the wind and the trees. And then just as suddenly, I was back in my body. And a number of different perspectives arose from this experience that I want to share. And they'll help sort of create the backdrop of what it was that motivated me to create this company. So number one, through the experience, I realized that every moment of a mortal life is tinged with just a hint of fear. Fear that something outside of us is going to hurt us, or feel that something we have is going to be taken away. But in that instant, I realized that fear is based on a certain perspective, a perspective that is valid. We are, in a certain sense, separate. But there's another perspective equally as valid, that everything is completely connected and part of one being. And so having attained that perspective, all fear in that moment just fell away like a curtain dropped. And what washed over me was a radiant bliss. Not a bliss of like a peace, an inner peace where I was like, okay, it's all complete, I'm not going to do anything. But like I was penetrating and being penetrated by every point in time and space. And it was just the most exquisite feeling that, immediately I wanted to share with other people. And at the time, I kind of, felt like maybe nobody had ever had this experience. It kind of like rocked my world, and I was thinking, wow, if anybody had ever had this experience, they would just tell everybody. And all kinds of human culture would be totally different because there's no reason to compete. Everybody would be like, oh, wow, what's it like to be you? And just kind of, in this really, collaborative space around, well, you're the part of me that's like that, and curious and helpful and supportive. It just seemed to me like all culture would be different. So like it became kind of my life mission to try and, share this experience with other people. And I think also it was the sense that I felt fulfilled. And when we feel fulfilled and we drink something that's really tasty, first thing we want to do is see the look on somebody else's face when they drink it. Versus, we're in a state of deprivation, maybe we might like, oh, how can I hoard this for myself? But I felt totally fulfilled and like I wanted to share it. And that was really part of my experience. So I was in college, as I mentioned at the time. And so this perspective totally changed who I was. And it led me to study, different kinds of things. At the time, I was studying a class called Environmental Ethics with a man called Bill Harger. Thank you so much, Bill. And I really think it's the perspective that I gained in that class that kind of gave me the framework to have that experience in the first place, along with some other things that I'll mention later. But that was a class in which we considered, what if everything, not just animals and humans, but even plants and inanimate objects, should be considered in our ethical, in our considerations ethically, that they should factor. And this gave me kind of the idea, oh, well, what if it's all just part of one thing and we should just respect everything as a whole? And then I had this experience and went on to take a class called The Conscious Universe with Robert Astrew. God bless you, Robert. Thank you. And that class, I studied quantum physics. And I found that essentially the most advanced form of physical science that we have has validated this perspective that there is really only one thing, it's energy. And you might say, okay, energy and the space that holds it, but we've also discovered that it's kind of like, well, when you get more intense space, it becomes energy. So it's really kind of just this one thing. And our most advanced science validates this. And also the fact that it is our awareness or consciousness that really mediates the manifestation of the physical out of the potential, that there's just a sea of potential always going on. And how we direct our attention actually determines how this potential manifests as a physical certainty. I could go into all kinds of different ways that is demonstrated, the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen experiment, the validation of Max Planck's unified field theory, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, Schrodinger's cat as an analogy. All of these things point toward a reality which certain mystics and shamans have talked about for thousands of years, which is that there is only one being, it's us, and we all share at a certain level, back here somewhere, a mind, heart, consciousness thing. And that's what bridges all of us. So there's lots of places, that I studied. The book, The Tao of Physics by the physicist Fritjof Capra is an amazing example of where a scientist takes this perspective. Another one is The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. There's a ton of work that's been done since then. Those are just books that I read at that time in college. Also, some modern people who are taking this on, people at the HeartMath Institute, Joe Dispenza. There's all kinds of people and places where this kind of realization has just become a thing, because this was about 20 years ago. So the thing I want to share out of this, and part of what gave me the direction that I had with the company, is that science is the systematic inquiry of things. And people have been doing that for thousands of years before the scientific method. And the scientific method is an incredibly powerful thing which we can use to discover our reality. But there are questions that the scientific method is not designed to answer. Like, for example, what is our purpose? There is no instrument that we can use to kind of like determine that. But when we find an answer for that for ourselves, it transforms our life and has great physical impact on our life. And to seek out those questions that are not answerable by the scientific method and answer them for ourselves is a very important thing. And so I felt like with the company, I wanted to draw attention to how science has validated these perspectives, but also how we have another sense of truth, which is really important. Because, for example, with your purpose, we get to discover that we create that. We can just make it up. My purpose is this. And then all of your attention and your direction all becomes about creating and determining that thing. And I'll share later what I feel like is the most important basis for that decision. The last thing I'll share on this subject is that I feel like the mystery of all mystery schools, everybody, kind of hears tell of mystery schools, right? Well, what is the mystery? The mystery to me is essentially that there is only one being, and it's us, and that this mind-heart consciousness thing is the thing that bridges us all. And when we realize that and learn to direct our attention and thus our energy in certain intentional ways, there really is no limit to what we can create. So why, what was the reason that we chose for throwing lightning? I presented to the group. I think it's about, quantum physics and sharing this consciousness, and also, sharing the awareness that Nikola Tesla had, that technology is this incredibly powerful tool that we can use to benefit all humankind, and in fact, all of the world, not just a certain class of people economically, but people across all spectrums. We can use this technology, and that's what he wanted to do, is make sure his technologies benefited all humankind into perpetuity. And so, we were like deciding, okay, this is a really good reason to do a why for what it is that we do. And I also found that a certain class that I took in college called Living Myths, taught by Rabbi Scharnberg. God bless you. Thank you, Rabbi Scharnberg. That showed me that there are other kinds of technologies than those sort of physical ones that we use to create desired effects. There are actually internal technologies, and if you look it up on different kinds of dictionaries, define technology differently, and it can even be just techniques that we use that are internal to ourselves that produce desired results. And so storytelling is a technology which shapes awareness, and it's how each succeeding generation passes on to the following what it is to be human and alive. Because when we use words to communicate things to one another, you have to have a reference point for that word to be meaningful to you. And so to children in particular, it's like you might tell them, it's really important to be humble. And if you learn to be humble, then your life will go a lot better, and you'll be happier, and you'll learn a lot. And they're like, what does that even mean? But if you tell them a story, hey, there was this child one time that did this thing, and then this other thing happened, that makes sense to them. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. I can feel that. So storytelling is a technology that we decided to employ, and that's part of the performance art element of what it is that we do. And essentially, at the heart of it, as I mentioned, it's about sharing this unity consciousness, is one term for it, this awareness that all things are connected, and to try and encourage culture to reflect that understanding, because I feel like that is kind of the primary element that's going into this cultural paradigm shift that we're experiencing now. So essentially, like I said, we decided, okay, this is our purpose, and I shared all these things about, the stage and the performance. And you'll later in the presentation, you'll see a certain image that was created at, just after that meeting, with the input of a number of other people, including Brent Haining. The image that was this project at the time called Lightning Temple. And in essence, we decided this is the image, this is what it is that we're going to be creating together. So to go into like a little bit of kind of how much faith I had to have, or how much faith I had to do the project, I put down at the beginning of the whole thing my only $1,500 in the world to put a deposit on this one venue so that we could have a fundraiser with no guarantee whatsoever that we would make any money with the fundraiser. Fortunately, we did make it back and some more, and so I got that $1,500 back. I was very grateful to be able to pay my rent that month. And so, that's one of the instances that I was sort of called to show faith in the process. And there have been many, many more where I just had to completely let go of whether or not things were going to go the way that I thought they should go and just have faith that it was going to happen. And I think that faith is another thing, for example, that science cannot measure currently, and that has a profound effect on the physical elements in our lives. On down the line, we created a number of things, and we went to Burning Man in 2009 and acted as the sort of production backbone of Red Lightning Village. And that was a remarkable experience. And there was wind turbines, and we had solar panels, and we had biodiesel generators, and we had healing domes and teepees and sacred spaces where people got to connect with the wisdom of ancient cultures. And we focused on the harmonizing of masculine and feminine energies and understanding how our culture could be advanced by understanding how ancient wisdom and practices could be, revived in modern times while still using technology. And then ultimately, after Burning Man, we went to Burning Man Decompression Party in Los Angeles, and we acted as the main stage that year. And that was an amazing production, and I'm really, really grateful to have been part of all of that. And so some of the amazing people that helped make that happen, Amanda Rain and Devin Haas and Cassandra Elwell at the time. She's married now, so I can't remember her last name at this moment. But that was an incredible experience. And so essentially, the culmination of that time for me was that an elder outside of one of our sacred spaces who was wearing a white cloak to signify their position was, sitting, guarding the space, making sure everybody was respectful of the offering there. And as I passed him, I said, "Thank you so much for helping in this way. Thank you." And he looked at me and he said, "It's an honor." And I could tell that he meant it. And I went around the corner from where he was, and I dropped to my knees and wept and wept. And it was at that moment that I realized that I had done something with my life where I had helped create something meaningful for someone. I had helped build a community, and that this person really felt like he was doing something important, and I had helped do that, and it touched my heart. And things touch me really deeply. I'm a person that just really I get affected by things, and I want to share why I look at life with such a kind of a profound, intense view, because I think it'll help you understand how it is that all of this happened. So, I'm named after my grandfather, my mother's father, and his name was Winyui Michel Tam, and I'm Michael Tam. And he was executed in the Vietnam conflict, and they captured him and they tortured him, and then they took him out to shoot him in front of a bunch of people, including my mother. And they asked him if he wanted a blindfold, and he refused. And then they asked him if he had any last words. And he said, "Yes, I have something to say." And he said, turned to the people who were there, and he said, "These people who are going to kill me now, they're going to tell you that I'm a traitor to the Vietnamese people. And I want you all to know that I have never done anything but good, or tried to do anything but good for the Vietnamese people. And these people are going to tell you that the people I work for are terrible, horrible people, and that they're taking advantage of everyone, and that the people that they work for and that they're representing are fair and just and wonderful people, and that when they take over, everything's going to be great. And I want you all to know that that's not the truth, and that more or less the people that they're representing are very similar to the people that I'm representing, and this is just the way that it is. And I want everyone here to know that before they kill me. I don't want them to be able to lie to you without me at least having said my piece. And then he turned to one of the people who was going to do it. And he said, and I want you to shoot me. I want you to do it. Because he knew that guy from when they were in school together, and they were good shots. He knew that guy was a good shot, and he knew he would kill him like that. And the guy who shot him was crying. So I've got to live up to that name. I was named after that guy. And for me, it's kind of a wow. You know, I learned this story when my mom paid for me to have a trip after being at college, and she paid for me to have a trip to Vietnam to see my cousin get married. And this story was translated by my cousin Hong, thank you Hong, by my great-grand aunt. And so that has really like colored my perception of my reality and my view of who I am in the world and how I need to show up. You know, when the chips are down, how do you show up? And that's kind of that's my example, you know. And yet, I want to share with you all that is also not sustainable. That's taking life very seriously, you know? And if you take it that seriously and you try really hard, you try as hard as you possibly can, at a certain point, it just doesn't become worth it. It's just not worth it anymore. And so there were a number of times during this project I totally burned out. I reached my edge of what I could possibly do, and I thought about giving up. A number of times during this project, I thought about like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I just need to go do something normal, you know? And yet what it was that turned me around was that I had chosen something to do that I loved. I loved to do it. I loved to dance with fire. I loved to dance with electricity. I loved to perform, to do the thing, you know? And so what I realized, you know, when I would burn out is like, oh, it's become more about what I'm supposed to do in my own mind than what it is I love to do. And so I realized what I hope is like the major takeaway from this talk, if any of you are looking to take anything away from it. And it is that that love is this incredible energy that is within us. It's part of nature because we're part of nature. The earth was a big ball of magma at one point, and things just happened, and then we came out. So we're like actually the earth that gets to look back at itself and all that stuff, right? And, you know, this energy that is all around us, you know, the solar energy, wind, tidal power, geothermal energy, these are all natural forms of energy that we call renewable because when we tap them, it doesn't make any less of it. We just draw it in, and love is like that. When we find what it is that we really love, you know, we can be exhausted at the end of our day, and suddenly our friend tells us that our favorite band is playing, and we leap with alacrity to our bedrooms, throw on our clothes, and immediately we're dancing all night. Now, where did that energy come from? It came from love. We're working on a passion project for hours and hours, and look up the clock, and oh my God, I became a timeless space I was in. It's the love that we have, and so that really is what helped create, or was at the heart of creating SkyFire Arts is love. And that's also, you know, to some degree, the essence of our purpose now. So after decompression in 2009, I faced the reality that, you know, everybody in the project, it seemed, kind of wanted to go back to their own lives. And so I was facing this like, oh, wow, like we've, you know, got this image that we all agreed that's what we're building. And, you know, I had all my DJ friends, my fire dancer friend come out to the fundraisers, perform, do their thing to raise money for this thing that we actually never got to produce at this point. We never did the lightning dancing at this point, or the lightning throwing, this part of it. We put up a structure that was very similar to that, at Burning Man and the decom. We had fire performances. We had a ritual, you know, sort of mythological performance. We had done a number of things, but we had not done this. And so I was facing, wow, everybody wants to go back to their lives and we haven't done this. So I shared with everybody like how I felt, like, oh, hey, you know, and so they were like, because we had a council to lead the thing. It wasn't like a single leader, it was this council. And they all turned to me and were like, we totally understand how you feel. If you want to continue with the project, you have our blessing. And I was like, wow, okay. So essentially, I had to face whether or not I thought that I could be a leader, and I had to decide like what it is that we have to be in order to be a leader. What is being a leader? And so I essentially, it boiled down to, for me, being able to listen to the people that you're leading and respect them and honor them and hear them, and also to hear my own thoughts. And then at the end, to take everything into account and then just say, okay, we're going to try this. Could totally be wrong, but we're going to try this. This is what we're going to try. And to just have the faith to leap out there and say, we're going to try this, and to adjust if necessary as things, show up. And so when I accepted, like, okay, I can do that. I can trust myself enough to do that. I felt like I was okay to be a leader. So I said, yeah, sure. And I want to mention some names right now of people that trusted me to do that, and that were really amazing and supported me tremendously in this period of time that was very up and down and left and right. Michelle Levon, bless you. Thank you, sister, for being with me through all that. I mean, she's been with me since the beginning. Mark Rosenthal, Dustin Engelskind, Aaron Land, Devin Haas, as I mentioned earlier, Adam Steinberg, Stephen Hughes, and Robert Berg, who was the first person who said, do you have a video of you performing? And after many years of fire dancing, I was like, no, I don't. You're crazy. To do this more, you need video. And he helped me create my first video. God bless you, Robert. So essentially, from there, a lot of different things happened. So one of the crazy stories that was part of the inception is that I got to play an aquatic superhero at a certain point that was called up to do an underarm deodorant commercial, and I was put in this suit, and they sealed me up the suit. It was rubberized, but I made a lot of money from it. It was like I had to be in this suit all day. I earned it, okay, but it was a good paycheck, and thousands of dollars. And so what happened is, right after getting that paycheck, not getting the paycheck, but getting the contract and having done the gig, I get this call from Jeff Parisi, and he says, hey, we've got this potential gig, and but we need a high voltage suit for it, because the high voltage suits I let go, and so it costs exactly the amount that you just made from your gig, exactly the amount. And I was thinking I was going to have my teeth checked, and I was thinking I was going to get my truck fixed, and I was going to use this money for my life, And then that happened, and I just went, guess I'm getting a high voltage suit. And so that was a remarkable experience. And then I didn't have the money yet, and we needed it immediately. So I called up my dad. God bless you, Dad. Eldridge Wood. I called him up, and I said, hey, Dad, I've got this job. I have this check coming in, but I don't have it. I need it. And he's like, okay, all right, I'll lend you the money. So he lent me the money, did the gig, got the suit. And then when I went to pay him back, because the check came in, and dutifully I came to my father and said, Dad, I've got the money. He's all, why don't you hang on to it? It's all right. You hang on it, see what you can do with it. And so I used that to throw the first public performance that we ever had, on which I lost a lot more money than he gave me. But anyway, that's a whole another story. But it was the first place that we actually got media of us performing live in front of an audience, and it was a really, really exhilarating moment in my life. At that event, I had this experience where I was going to do something that was completely untried. I had a fire sword soaked with fuel. I had shaken off the excess fuel, make sure it didn't spray it. And I was about to, without it ever having been tested, go up on the lightning throwing platform and light the fire sword using the electricity. And my two mentors at the time, Michelle Levon and Tedward Couture, they both came up to me, and they were my mentors at the time, and they said to me, so this has never been done before. We've never tried or tested this before. And I'm like, no. And they're like, you're going to go and do this live on stage for the first time ever right now. And I'm like, yeah. But if it doesn't work, nobody's going to know. It'll just the lightning will shoot and the light sort of won't light on fire, and I'll just keep doing the performance and only we'll know. And also, every single other thing that we've done says that this should work. There's no reason that this shouldn't. We built the sword in the way that. So I'm going to try it. And they were like, okay. And it worked. And I lifted the sword up and the electricity went off and it lit this fire. And you should have heard the crowd. It was amazing. One of the, obviously, peak experiences of my life. So I feel like, to be a leader requires a certain amount of faith as well as a certain amount of respect. And I have been very blessed to have the experiences that allowed me to come to those realizations. And I'm very privileged to stand before you to share them. So I feel like, to some degree, I want to share at least a couple more things about like how it is that I got to be this person to be able to do this thing, because it's really, my experiences are so valuable. I want to share them with people. I feel like it might, like if I share, hey, I did this and I did that, and this is how this has struck me and that struck me, then maybe I will have done some good in the world and be worthy of this amazing gift that has been bestowed upon me. So when I was young, when I was in middle school, I had moved around a lot in Southeast Asia before coming to the United States, and I reached a point in my life where I felt no love. I did not belong anywhere because I was always the new kid everywhere I went. And whereas I had my parents, and they did love me, their way of showing their love for me did not reach me. I did not experience their love. Their love was always out in front of me, just like a carrot, and behind was the whip. So I really felt like no love from them, really. And my sister was Carol Wood, bless you. And my mom's name is Kim An Wood. She passed quite a time ago, but I wanted to say her name here because she would be very, very happy to see me here like this. So my sister is older than me, and I was always the annoying little brother, and so I felt like, some love from her. She actually stood up for me a number of times when I was young, but I felt so alone, really. I felt like super alone, so alone and so disconnected that I began to consider doing the most awful things, the most terrible, terrible things I considered doing. And I'm very grateful to have made it out of that point in my life and to have turned it around, because that was a very dark road I was on. And I feel like that is something that really gave me a perspective that allowed me to have compassion for even the most horrible people, the people that do the darkest things, because I know the desperation out of which evil acts arise. How somebody who is even essentially good or could be very, very good could do really, really bad things. And that compassion and that way of treating all people as just being people has really been essential to creating what it is that I have with this amazing group of artists and technicians created. So that happened. And so I also studied Kung Fu, and I learned the definition of Kung Fu from a couple of internal masters, Tai Chi masters. And they shared that Kung Fu in our world is directly associated with martial arts. And it is, in the East, though, in China, it's used as a more general term, like the Kung Fu box, like a box miscellaneous stuff. And that to be a Kung Fu master, actually you could do almost any trade or any, practice. And that Kung Fu mastery is first being able to perform a challenging or difficult task. Then being able, with more mastery, to be able to perform a difficult task with ease. And then at the last, being able to perform a difficult task with joy. Because after that, the rest of your life is gravy. Right? It's icing on the cake. If you can do difficult things and really accept them and really embrace them and just be with them and do them, then the rest of life becomes easy. So that really helped me. That perspective really helped me. Also, I studied ninjutsu for a time, and there they have this strong emphasis in that training with allowing and using gravity and allowing, doing things effortlessly. And that really, really helped me. And also, the speaker Alan Watts and the philosopher Alan Watts has this whole piece around how going through life can either be rowing or sailing. And that, like in ninjutsu, it's far more efficient to have a sail and have a rudder than it is to try and row your way through life. And I feel like love and connecting to what it is we love and allowing that energy to rise within us and fuel what it is that we're doing, that is a way to go through life. And prioritizing, finding what it is that you love, which is what no scientific instrument can currently measure or whatnot necessarily, is a really important question to answer, and affects our life tremendously. I've also been very fortunate to work with a number of plant medicines. I've been to spiritual ceremonies where they use a number of different kinds of medicines, and I feel that they have a very powerful and tremendous impact on our awareness, and that they act in a way like a helicopter ride to the place that I experienced on the bus in college. But you can't get out of the helicopter. You go up there, you fly around, you can experience in a certain way unity consciousness, or a way you can experience this, being everything. But then at a certain point, it's the end of your ride, and you come back down and you still face the same mountain. And so my real emphasis is actually integration practices that allow us to experience that and cultivate that experience without having to use plant medicines necessarily, though I think that they're very, very useful and profound and appropriate for people under very specific circumstances, and at certain times in their life. But I feel like, again, like I said, that integration practices are what I really emphasize and focus on. So, because any experience that you can have, any state of consciousness that you can attain using a plant medicine, you can also attain without it. It's just a certain amount of devotion and practice. So I want to kind of go to the magic part for a second, because at the very beginning it was like where science meets magic. Well, where's the magic part? Well, I just want to describe a couple of experiences that I've had really fast, because I want to be respectful of the time, that really, to me, are like pure magic, or what people described as magic. And maybe they're just things that happen that we have as of yet to develop scientific instruments to measure, but they're very, very real. And they go beyond the physical into the realm where we're all connected by that thing I was talking about, mind, consciousness, whatever it is. So I was helping my friend Elise move one day, and she has a black cat named Bane. And suddenly Bane looks around the room and looks around the room and looks around the room, where very clearly he's seeing something that we are not. And so I said to myself, oh, this is really interesting. What would happen if I went into a meditation and changed my state of being? I wonder how this would affect the thing in the room. So, or Bane or whatever. So I went and I sat on her bed and started doing a meditation where it's a concentration type of meditation where it was like, I bring beauty and love and truth and health and strength and vitality and gratitude and appreciation and humility and grace. And I just started calling in all the good things, all the beautiful, beautiful things in this world. And that cat looked here, looked there, and then looked right above my head, and then looked down, 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 and looked right in my eyes for like 2 minutes. That felt like 10. I'm adjusting. It's like the fish thing, right? Like, how big was the fish? Well, it felt like 10 minutes. It was 2 minutes at least, just staring right in my eyes. And so I was like, oh, wow. Like, the part of me that's like saying the thing is one part of me. Then there's the part of our minds that's like the antenna that just like receives thoughts that fly by. And then there's the part of you that's observing those parts of your mind, right? We all know kind of like the internal voice that we have, like the different parts of our mind. And so around the end of this 2 minutes, suddenly on the sort of radio part of my mind, the thought of killing and eating the cat comes through. Just kind of breezes through. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of hairy. well, and at this point I was very accustomed to like having dark thoughts and not doing them. You know? So I thought to myself though, like, but what would happen right now if I kept that thought in my mind? How would the cat respond? So I did. I grabbed that thought and I brought it right back. And it took about 2 seconds. 1,000, 2, 1,000. Cat leaps up behind a cardboard box and then peeks out at me. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I'm totally getting goosebumps even thinking about it. I'm like, what did I do? What am I going to do? I don't want to leave it like this. This is not the message that I want. This is not the thing that I want to create. So I looked at him again. And in my mind's eye, I envisioned myself in an alley, starving, petting the cat. And in my heart was, not even if I was starving, not even if I would die, would I hurt you. You have nothing to fear from me. And the cat looked at me, and it came out a little bit, and then I reached out and I pet the cat, and it was over. The spell was done. And my friend Elise goes, now what just happened? She's like, that was so weird. He was looking around, So I had to explain it to her. Another really quick story about a black cat. By the way, now I have a black cat of my own. His name is Blackjack. Yes, I got to say his name. That's funny. So essentially, a person I met through a weird circumstance, I don't have time to tell now, but he told me a story of being in Thailand in the 80s, and he was at this public monument, and this black cat came out from behind the statue, and it looked at all his friends in the eye, and it looked at them, and then it ran off. And he was like, I'm totally getting goosebumps. And he was like, looking at his friends, he's like, did you see that? I want to go. I think we should go. So they got up and they walked away and they walked around the corner and wham, a bomb went off. A terrorist had planted a bomb at the monument and blew it up. It was in the news and everything. And he said that he felt at that moment what they always say about your body being 70, 80% water, because he felt the ripple, he felt the concussion wave like ripple his body. He fell to the ground. He was stunned for 7 minutes, couldn't get up. When he did get up, he went around the corner, and the place where he and his friends were was annihilated. Concrete and steel had just wiped it all out. And he would have totally died if he hadn't listened to that black cat. So maybe they just get a bad rap, They're just warning us. They're like, hey, something's going to go down, okay? I'm here to tell you. So since then, one of the most intense things that I've done is I went to firewalker instructor training, and I learned to walk on coals that are 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit without being burned, and how to push a 5-inch sewing needle through my hand without bleeding. And what I learned there was that essentially almost all of what it is that keeps us from doing the things that we want to do in life, almost all of it is here. Some people would say it's all here. Anything that you really want to do, not that somebody else has convinced you is valuable, or something that you really in your own heart want to do, we can do it. The only things that are keeping us from it are in our mind. And also that we are 100% responsible for our own happiness, and that the happiness that we tend to think is like out there and after we're going to get this or after we're going to do that, we can bring that right here. And when we bring that right here and we're happy with the focus of our minds, we have the power to do this. When you do that, then what you want, all that stuff, actually is really a lot closer and comes to you more easily. So I wanted to mention a couple of people at this point. My friend Troy G helped me throw my very first talent sharing, future creating birthday party, which we painted or drew what we wanted to see in the future, and we burned it at the beach, at Dockweiler Beach in Los Angeles here. And thank you, Christopher Ulrich, for providing those canvases and helping me do that too. He also helped me get this Troy G also helped me get this talk. So I wanted to give a shout out to Troy G and also to my wife, Anja. She has been a tremendous support and a love throughout all of this. And I am super grateful for her and everything that she has done. Thank you, my love. So what's it all about at this point? I've mentioned more or less everything that it is. We create these spectacular performances in order to draw attention to renewable energy. And in the external world, the natural world outside of ourselves or the individual that we are. This means, solar, wind, tidal, and geothermal power. In a cultural sense, we're trying to draw attention to that with our work. But then also we're trying to draw attention to the natural energy within us that is tappable and renewable. It doesn't deplete by taking of it. If anything, it grows. And so this is, kind of at the heart of our project. And as I mentioned, there's a whole dimension of what's going on in culture right now because of the discoveries in quantum physics, where many, many more people are recognizing that that this perspective of unity or whatnot of our awareness of our oneness has been validated, and that there's a huge paradigm shift where a lot of people are accepting this reality and beginning to act as if that is the case. And that is essentially, what is at the heart of our company, is that we want to share that reality. And also, I think that's really all I need to say. I've already more or less said everything that I need to say about why it is that we're doing what it is that we're doing. And so where are we at this point, and where are we going? So we have an amazing team of people. Johanna Hoffman, thank you so much for everything that you do to help us keep things moving forward. And we have a clear vision. We have a little nest egg. We have an amazing network of people. And we're planning an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign in which we essentially find sponsorship for the SkyFire Arts Spirit of Tesla tour, where we go around and not only have a performance, which, as I mentioned, through the storytelling technology, communicate this awareness of our interconnection with all things, but also, encourage people to tell a story of essentially like kind of where we're at in culture right now and how we make it out. Like, what is the story of how we transform this culture to be more in harmony with nature and maintain a beautiful world for all for the succeeding generations to experience. Essentially, let's see. I think that that's really all. I mean, I've got a lot more. I got a lot more that I could say, but I'm just feeling at this moment that I'm pretty complete. So I'll just leave you with the one kind of share that I have, which is kind of a concise way of saying a lot of things that I've already said, which is that I really believe that when we don't know what to do, if we can just remember that love conquers all, so let love rule. Just do whatever love would do in that moment, or what our love can guide us to do. And that could mean a lot of things. I don't have time to go into any of that right now. So I want to give you, before I depart here, thank you all so much for your patience and for your attention. I'm very, very grateful to stand before you. It's the realization of one of my wildest dreams to actually be here and speaking to you. So I want to extend my gratitude, my appreciation most sincerely to all of you. And I want to leave you with a bit of what SkyFire Arts feels like, because you haven't seen any of the performance except for the video. And really, videos don't quite do what we do justice. I'm going to share with you a piece that was the piece that sort of put me in the position to do all of this. Jeff Parisi at a certain point asked me, he's like, do you know why I'm letting you do this? Why you're the guy that because there's a lot of people and everybody asks me, hey, can I dance with it? Whatever. You want to know why you're the guy? I'm like, yeah, sure, tell me. He's like, you're the only fire dancer that ever made me think. I did a performance at a place called Laserium, and I shared the piece that I'm about to share with you with him. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but in essence, he told me that he still thinks about it sometimes. And he'll go to respond to people, and he'll think about what I said, and then he'll respond to them differently. And I love that. That's another thing that I love, is at the end of a performance, if somebody says to me that anything that I did or said, like, did anything for them or did good for them, I just feel a tremendous sense of love and completeness, like I did when that elder told me what he told me about his experience. So I'll share that piece with you now. we dance to summon courage. Not only the courage it takes to face physical dangers, but the courage we need to say difficult things to people in the moment of truth. When we can learn to see even the most irritating people as merely reflections of ourselves in our own moments of confusion, we can overcome any temptation to judgment or sarcasm and afford them the sincerity that we might hope to receive. In this way, we can transform situations of conflict into opportunities for growth and communion, transcending fear and inspiring love. Music, please. Thank you all so very much for coming.